This is private land, which is not communal, but the farmers are agreed.
The track of this road cuts through the plantations of two landowners. It's not been easy to get their permission, but they've granted it as their contribution to the community road project. The people working on the road are giving up their time regularly. It represents a collaboration of several communities.
This is intended to communicate them with the other villages for the development of community institutions such as schools, health centers, veterinary centers.
The community have also taken responsibility for a conservation scheme on the hills above the village. Terracing and tree planting reduce erosion and the danger of flooding during the rains. Scenes like this are not unusual. What is unusual is how this and other projects in this community came about. Many communities in Ethiopia have become used to depending on outside aid, particularly as a result of the massive inflows of aid after the 1984-85 famine.
They were expecting support to come from NGOs and the government as well. But after having gone through the self-organized learning process, they were able to see their inner potentials. In their own terms, they have come up with their own learning needs, and they also formulated strategy how to pursue their own learning. They were able to address low food production by producing compost.
As an alternative to chemical fertilisers, composting is cheaper and it also improves the soil quality.
This wasn't the first time that farmers were told to make compost.
Activities like composting have been promoted by local governments for years, but had not been previously taken up in the village.
It was an imposition on them, but the difference through the self-organized learning process was that they were made to see their problems in their own terms. They set their own learning objectives. They were the ones who caused the learning itself. Years back, this area was vulnerable to flood disaster, drought, and animal attack. They were trying to address their vulnerabilities individually. They were not looking at themselves as one whole. After having gone through the SOL process, they were able to see themselves as one single community. And that sense of community has grown when they come up with a solution to address their vulnerabilities. They started looking at complexities of problems.
This is called systems thinking. Rather than looking at parts of the problem only, it encourages people to look at all aspects of a situation. For example, the road building project has resulted from looking at the whole system of the village economy.
They were able to see how complex their vulnerabilities were and how interrelated those vulnerabilities are. And they were able also to address those vulnerabilities not as single entities, but as one community.
The villagers worked together to think about their system. They shared in learning conversations. They had seen that the government tended to ignore their needs, citing a medical centre in a neighbouring village rather than in theirs. They realised that the critical element was communications. There was no access into the communities in the hills, and the government representatives couldn't even get easy access themselves to see the situation. The villagers recognised that the road was a solution, but it brought its own challenges. Who would build it? How would they get access to the land they needed? The solution led to much more discussion and negotiation, to establish work teams in all the communities, and to persuade landowners to give up their land along the route of the road. Now the work is in progress, and it's owned by the whole community. While this transformation has been an effect of self-organised learning, the process has a number of other important impacts. Women who were once illiterate and have gone through the self-organised learning process identified their learning needs as being illiteracy. They determined how they wanted to deal with their illiteracy and took initiative for their own learning. They enrolled at a local literacy class and became literate within a short time. Some women used to sell their coffee directly to local retailers with a small profit margin. Through the self-organised learning process, they became process learners, being able to see their marketing reality as a process. They saw themselves in the market chain and discovered that selling their coffee directly to the wholesaler saved them from being exploited by middlemen. Itagni drew 3 pictures to stimulate conversation in challenging robotic learning behaviour related to local trading. This conversation and reflection has led to self-help groups being conscious of their business, their cost and benefits, and to them researching new market areas and engaging in new and practical businesses. As a result of going through self-organised learning, Mercuria has changed the way he handles customers. In his HIV intervention approach, he has become comprehensive. He integrates nutrition and sustainable livelihoods. He values collaboration and networking with other organisations in response to HIV. Atto Yosef took the initiative and responsibility to support a big merger of 2 organisations. He's also been instrumental in creating a non-bureaucratic organisation with motivated staff.
The other item for which I took as a wind or a driving force is freedom. The fact that the action plan was already in place gave me as a learner a freedom to facilitate the implementation since the outcomes were all clearly set ahead in the action plan. The outcomes were already there. I knew what the results would be, and I felt more freedom to facilitate.
The activities the villagers at Galiwarego are involved in are not unusual, but the transformation in how they work together and how they find solutions to the challenges they face has been dramatic. Self-organised learning has led to these transformations in many different situations. The modules making up this resource explain the different aspects of self-organised learning and how they can be applied to groups, communities and organisations.